Hi, I'm going to look at three little extracts of music with you, and I'm going to talk about groove and how, in some music, some piano music, like these three examples, we've actually got a very clear, audible groove. We're actually playing a groove. Like we haven't got a drummer or a rhythm section, but we're doing something in the texture of the music that is creating a very strong feeling of groove. But they're three very different examples. The first example is the famous C major Bach prelude. So there's no melody here. It's almost literally just a groove, but it's still quite an interesting groove. Now, I'm obsessed with groove. Groove is this thing that gives music its essential meaning, I feel. So that it's the thing that turns words into poetry. So if I said that last sentence with groove, it sort of changes it. If I say that last sentence with groove, it changes it. It changes the feeling, doesn't it? The music's got this strange quality. Rhythm has got this strange quality of adding meaning, or I would say probably more feeling. So that's what the groove's all about. Groove's all about creating this feeling, this kind of, whether it's whatever kind of groove it might be, it creates this poetic, for want of a better word, it's rhythmic really, isn't it? Because it's rhythm making words into poetry. But anyway, this poetic feeling, this feeling of something in the body and soul that we relate to. It's not in the words, it's in the actual groove. And then in the way that the rhythm of the music, the more surface rhythm, sits with the groove. So in this Bach that I'm going to show you first, the way that the surface or the texture of the music sits in the groove is kind of seamlessly. It just sits right on the groove. It's the sound of the groove. So groove is structure. And this is common time. I say little mantras. I would say inward rhythm, flowing rhythm. If you think of that as kind of like one bar, and then that's followed by another bar, inward rhythm, flowing rhythm. And then those two bars are often answered by two more, inward rhythm, flowing rhythm, inward rhythm, flowing rhythm. And that's what we get in the first four bars. Makes perfect sense, you see. Then we get another four bars in exactly the same way. And then it gets interesting because we only get three bars. So we get this, followed by this, and this. And the whole thing is, that whole section is interesting in that it is four bars, followed by four bars, followed by three bars. So it's a kind of triple structure. So the way the matrix works is everything's in twos or fours or threes. So you have groups of 2 3s or 3 2s or 3 4s or 4 3s, whatever. It's always those kind of numbers those small numbers that we don't need to count. Bigger numbers, yeah, we can make any numbers we want, can't we? But we don't think of those numbers when we're really feeling the groove. So let me play it all through to that point there. See if you can feel that structure poetically happening. 4 bars, followed by 4 bars, followed by just 3. And so that groove, that very strong metric structure, the matrix I often call it, that sense of rhythmic matrix that glues everything together and makes it make sense poetically, rhythmically, is pretty powerful stuff in my opinion. All right, so let's have a look at something different. So this is the famous Schubert G flat impromptu. And we have got a melody now. It's not in the last one there was no melody, just the broken chord groove. We've still got a broken chord groove. So we've still got that underlying sense of there being something that we can hear that's telling us this meter, this groove. But we've got a melody over the top. But the thing is, the melody sits right on the structure. It doesn't pull against it, which can happen a lot. It's a kind of almost syncopated effect with melodies that they sometimes pull against the groove. This one doesn't. This one sits right on top. So I don't know, it gives it almost a kind of innocent quality or something when the melody, all nursery rhymes tend to sit on top of the groove. You know, it's this kind of slightly innocent, sort of not very sophisticated quality that's guileless. In this case, I think extremely beautiful. So the groove here is very irregular. If I go, so the triplets, diddler, 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 inward rhythm, flowing rhythm is one bar, inward rhythm, flowing rhythm. So you're going to get those 2 bars twice and then twice more, so 4 times. And I will just play it through, see if you can follow it. It's pretty easy to follow. So you can probably feel there's a flexibility to groove. It can be pretty close to being metronomic if you wanted to, or it can stretch because it's poetic. It's got that quality, it's got this kind of flow running through it. But the structure there, completely regular, not like the Bach, which had that little bit more interest, you could say, in the groove. That's quite, I don't want to say this is not interesting just because it's simple. Simple can be great. And it kind of has this innocent, guileless sweetness about it as a result of that. So the melody sitting right on top of the groove. But sometimes a groove can be just as audible and clear, and as I was saying before, the melody doesn't sit so firmly and clearly on top. And that's the case in this opening part of the theme from the Haydn F minor variations. So the groove sound, if I've just played the groove part, it sounds very simple. So the groove itself has got something quite interesting going on. If I was to say inward rhythm, flowing rhythm, that's the first 2 bars. It's because it's in 2/4, not 4. Inward rhythm, flowing rhythm. The next thing that answers it, inward rhythm, flowing rhythm, doesn't conclude. It isn't just a regular 2 times 2. You need 2 more. Inward rhythm, flowing rhythm. That's the structure. So imagine a poem with 2 lines, followed by 2 lines, followed by 2 lines to get that structure. And then the melody sits on it in a very interesting way. Have a listen. So it's followed by, and then we get all that again. Followed by, and then. So try and feel that sense of it. I mean, it's kind of natural. I'm not saying you won't just feel it naturally, but this little bit of awareness that this is what groove is, I think can enhance our listening experience, quite honestly. It certainly enhances the playing experience. It just helps us to be naturally and effortlessly expressive, this kind of poetic quality that groove has. So let me play that whole section and see if you can feel that structure of inward rhythm flow in, sorry, that was wrong. Inward rhythm, flowing rhythm, twice more, and then all that again. So hopefully that's kind of quite interesting to see how, you know, an audible groove in the music can sit in, you know, different kind of structures, can create different kind of structures, and the way the melody sits on it can be different. Of course, not all music has an audible groove. So that's a very interesting thing to look at, which I'll definitely look at in another video. I think when music doesn't have an audible groove and we create the groove in our bodies, it's, I don't know, it's kind of special. It's a special feeling as well. It's different. It's a different thing. I like improvising to a groove, like an audible groove of drums and bass. You know, that kind of traditional idea of groove. I like that very much as well. And that then gives me freedom to sort of syncopate and sit on that groove in all kinds of different ways. But I just thought it was kind of interesting to look at just 3 fairly random examples of how a groove that's clearly there in the texture can work in different ways in different kinds of pieces.